Hi, and welcome to another video from You First, High Impact Training. My name's Sarah, and today I'm really happy to take you through a session on leading teams through different stages. The objectives of today's session are to firstly understand the different stages of team development, with the goal, of course, to reaching high-performing teams. Secondly, it's to understand how leadership styles can change and transform throughout these phases of team development and how you can best support your team. And finally, having a look at how this can apply to you. What stages is your team at, and how can you maybe enhance or tweak your leadership style to get them further towards becoming a high-performing team? We're going to cover these three topics today. Firstly, the 4 stages of team development. Secondly, the role of the team leader. And finally, how does this relate to you? Firstly, let's have a look at the stages of team performance. Now, you may have seen these 4 stages before, the first of which is forming, when a team first comes together, followed by norming, storming, and ultimately performing. Let's have a look at these in a little more detail. Firstly, forming. This is really when the team is establishing a sense of direction and team vision. They're defining their goals, and importantly, they're looking at how each team member contributes towards that goal. What's each team member's role? And finally, they're really understanding each other. They're getting to know each other. How do you work? What are your skill areas? As a team moves on from forming, they start to become norms in the team. So this means the team has its own types of communication and interaction. And individuals and the team as a whole start to understand their expectations, both from the team leader and also from each other. The team moves on to storming, which is really where open communication starts to happen and team members start to test boundaries that they had previously found in the forming stage. What they start to experience then is sometimes conflict. But importantly, the storming stage teaches teams how to resolve this conflict in a really constructive way. When teams are able to pass through this storming phase, they really reach this performing or high-performing stage, which is characterized by having an extremely productive team with very efficient and effective operations. They're so effective, in fact, that they start to look at continuous improvement. How can they do things better? How can they innovate? And importantly, they start to look at, okay, how's our culture? How can we make this culture really great and really quality? And this is fostered because everyone's comfortable to give each other feedback. Again, both from the team leader and from the team members themselves. So now that we understand these 4 stages of team development and performance, let's have a look at your role as the team leader. As I mentioned before, the role of the team leader is really important in order to support a team from the forming stage all the way through to performing. Initially, team leaders often play a very hands-on directive leadership role. But importantly, this needs to transition as the team starts to move through the stages. The leadership role has to take a step back in order to empower the team to ultimately become self-managed. And this is when we're really achieving high performance. Let's have a look at each of these phases and how your role can change as a team leader. Firstly, in the forming stage, as I mentioned, this is often highly directive type leadership where the team leader is answering questions. They're also really predominantly giving team members their roles and responsibilities, emphasizing the team vision. As we move on to the norming stage, however, the team leadership style becomes much more consultative. So team members themselves are forming relationships. So the team leader starts to facilitate these relationships in a very collaborative and consultative manner. In the storming phase, you'll see here, the team leader actually almost becomes like a team member, so to speak, and the leadership style is much more participatory. In this way, the team leader actually enables these open conversations that need to happen in the storming phase so that the team can test these boundaries and can learn how to overcome conflict. Finally, in the performing stage, as you can see here, the team leader almost moves completely outside of the circle. This means that the team itself is actually quite self-sufficient and self-managed. And that's when its production is really good, really quality. The team leader, of course, still has a role. It definitely has a role to keep providing direction where required, and really importantly, to help the team to build that culture, to enhance its productivity, to focus on continuous improvement. Now, how does this relate to you? Whether you're a team manager or whether you're part of a team, it's really important to ask yourself some fundamental questions in order to help you either as a team leader support your team or as a team member support your team to become high performing. Firstly, it's really important to understand, where are you in the team life cycle of performance? Are you just getting together in the forming stages, or are you moving up through norming and into storming? It's important to understand these phases because then you really need to look at, for example, if you're a team leader, what kind of a leadership style do you have? And is that leadership style appropriate for your place in the performance life cycle? For example, if your team is in a forming stage, are you still really involved in giving them direction? Because if you are, you may not be giving them the space they need to have those open conversations. And it may be time for you to take a step back and really empower your team to move on to the high performing part of the team performance cycle. So that's all we had for you today. I hope you've learned something, and I hope this has been helpful to have a bit of a look on your own style or the style of the team that you're a part of. We really wish you the most success and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.